While my family returns to their seats, there are two people in the audience I would like to recognize. We all get here because someone sees something in us and suggests that we might be able to do this. For me, that person was former Speaker Joe Roberts, who is somewhere in the audience here. Joe and my mother were very close. When my mother passed away, Joe came to me and said it would be a wonderful tribute to her to keep you involved, and we'd love you to run for this office. And I was very blessed that he came to me. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. Very appreciative and very thankful. The other person I want to acknowledge, remarkable man, little known at the time, but really had a significant impact in changing my life, former Speaker, former Congressman, and now Mayor of West New York, Alvio Sires. It was Speaker Sires, the Majority Leader. Joe Roberts, who in 2022 named me to chair the Budget Committee, one of the jobs I've enjoyed the most in my life. It gave me the opportunity to make so many friends with my colleagues, many of whom are still here, some of whom have come and gone, and so many of you in the audience who we've worked with on so many issues that are important to the state. Without these two individuals, I would not be where I am today. It is not an over-exaggeration to say they changed my life. Thank you both very much. So thank you, everybody. It's with profound gratitude and a sense of duty that I stand before you today, ready to serve you as Majority Leader for the 221st legislative session. First and foremost, I want to express my undying love to my family. Everything I am, everything I will be, and all that I will be remembered for lives within the spirit of my wife and children. To my wife, Cindy, who is not here, and our children, Lauren and Eric, who are also not here, and my beautiful daughter, Jenna, who was up on stage with me, and for all to know today, and for all to remember, and when you see my wife and children, you can tell them, Jenna, you are my favorite. Thank you for being here. But to all of them, their love is my inspiration and my motivation. To my bride, Cindy, I know you've had to sacrifice, although not today, for us. But seriously, I thank you for letting me do this. I love you most of all. Many of you know the story of my mother, Maria Barnaby Greenwald. This week will be the 29th year since her passing. She was a trailblazer in her own right, the first woman mayor of Cherry Hill, the first woman to run county government as its director, and the first woman surrogate of the county of Camden. She instilled in me a steadfast commitment to public service, and I've been honored to dedicate my career in public service to her memory and to the philosophy of government she espoused, service to others and politics of hope. Today, I begin my 29th year in the Assembly and my 7th term as its Majority Leader. Throughout my years of service, one thing has been reinforced over and over again, which is my conviction that this House is an unbelievable force for good. Throughout this journey, I have always known this body to be a catalyst for progress, a beacon for democracy, and a platform where diverse voices converge to craft the policies that shape the future of our great state. To the 27 new members from both parties joining the Assembly today, I say welcome. Your presence brings fresh perspective and ideas that will undoubtedly enrich this legislative process. With 9.3 million people in this state, just 120 are given the honor and privilege to put forward their ideas, their approach to public policy, and to work to convince one individual to sign it. You have been selected as one of the few. Congratulations. I encourage you to approach your responsibilities with curiosity and an open mind, governed from your own life experiences. This work is not easy, as some have suggested it is. It is not supposed to be. But I can honestly say that it has been the most rewarding experience of my professional life. The best public policy has always involved a diverse set of stakeholders and advocates with different backgrounds and viewpoints, coming together to find the best possible solutions to problems. I encourage you to meet with individuals and advocacy groups who disagree with you. You may learn something. Remain humble, seek compromise, and always remain committed to the number one objective, solving the problem in front of you. My commitment to every member on both sides of the aisle is simple. I'm a phone call away. I look forward to working with each and every one of you to make New Jersey a better place to call home. As we reflect on the past legislative session, there's a lot to be proud of. We've seen the growth of New Jersey as a place where people choose to live, work, and play. Most recently, CNBC reported that New Jersey jumped from 42nd all the way to 19th in the country for business friendliness in just a year. While we continue to strive to get better, no one can argue that New Jersey is not headed in the right direction. In collaboration with the governor, we've upheld our commitment to public sector employees by making a $7.1 billion payment to our pension fund. This marks the first time in a quarter of a century that the state made the full pension payment for 3 consecutive years. As a result of that commitment, the pension fund is now the healthiest it has been in modern history. In my passion to govern from my own life experiences, I remember when I was 26 years old and bought my first home in 1993, using an early rendition of the first-time homebuyers program. I remember the pride I felt when my father came to visit me and bought me a toolkit as a housewarming gift. Never used it. Would have broken something with it. I remember in 1995, the love I felt when I carried my wife over our threshold, and 2 years later, the sense of responsibility we felt together when we carried our baby girl home from the hospital. So in that spirit, we expanded the home ownership opportunities by helping first-time and first-generation homebuyers across the state make the life-changing down payment on their piece of the American dream so that every resident in New Jersey could have the chance to tell that story. I remember when my twins were born, November 11th of 2000. I remember to the penny how much daycare costs for a young family like ours. Under the leadership of Assemblywoman Reynolds Jackson, we expanded the child tax credit to put more money back in the pockets of working and middle-class families raising children. And together with Governor Murphy, we doubled that child tax credit in this year's budget, now up to $1,000 per child. I remember walking down Kings Highway in Haddonfield, and a remarkable, wonderful woman came up to me and had the courage to share a personal story about how her first 9 months of her Social Security check went to pay for her property taxes and her medication. That's why we worked and joined Assemblyman Tolley in the fight to lower prescription drug costs for seniors, so that residents on fixed incomes don't have to worry about choosing between paying for their medication or paying for their property taxes. In my time as budget chair and now as majority leader, I've traveled up and down the turnpike to every county in the state. And I've heard firsthand the contentious debate raging across this state. So I couldn't be more thankful to Assemblyman Roy Fryman for finally settling the age-old debate that has torn our state apart for centuries. Central Jersey does exist, in fact, and it is alive and well. You can do anything in the state legislature. On a serious note, I will never forget when my parents passed away and I was clearing out their home. I found my mother's first inaugural address. She talked passionately about her fight to lower property taxes and why she ran to become the first woman mayor of Cherry Hill in 1977. She feared that her parents and her in-laws would be forced to move away from their grandchildren. Finally, under the leadership of my friend, Speaker Coughlin, we made an unprecedented commitment to significantly reduce property taxes for 97% of senior homeowners who call New Jersey home. I want to also congratulate my friend Speaker Coughlin. Next to his family, there's no one more proud that he is making history today as the state's longest-serving Assembly Speaker. I look forward to our continued partnership working to tackle the difficult issues of our day. As I think back on all that we've accomplished over the past session, one lesson stands out to me. It is a lesson that I learned from my mother as a child, that we as a legislature succeed when we embrace politics of hope. The politics of hope is optimistic and forward-looking. The politics of hope places its faith in a better nature, in our unity over division, in our belief over cynicism. It says things like our commonalities far outweigh our differences. Regardless of political party, we all want the same things. We want affordable homes to raise our families in, access to top-tier education and healthcare, safe streets for our children to play on, and the right to make the most personal decisions in our lives without fear or interference. The politics of hope, however, is not blind to the challenges before us. We all have life experiences to share, a story to tell, something that calls us to public service. In the spirit of my mother, deep in those stories and those experiences are the roots of public policy that can improve the lives of the people that we serve. As we look to the future, we certainly have more work to do. That is the nature of government. For far too long, New Jersey's Medicaid reimbursement rate has been woefully inadequate. New Jersey currently ranks 49th out of 50 states on the Kaiser Family Foundation Medicare to Medicaid fee index. Low Medicaid reimbursement rates mean providers and healthcare facilities are disincentivized from accepting Medicaid patients, resulting in limited options for patients seeking care. There are 2.1 million children in this state. 1.2 million of them, or 51% of New Jersey's children, are on a Medicaid plan in one of the wealthiest states in this country with the best education system in the country. That means in a state like ours, where private insurance has access to the finest facilities and world-class healthcare providers, if my son and your son both sustain the same injury on a ball field, we could see substantially different healthcare outcomes depending on which health insurance card we carry in our wallets. To me, this is unacceptable. We throw around terms like network adequacy. If adequate is all that we require in our day-to-day lives, adequate should never be our goal. My wife and I never accepted adequate from our children. We shouldn't accept adequate when it comes to healthcare access for our children. It also means that Medicaid patients are often unable to find in-state providers that will accept their insurance and are forced to travel great distances or out of state to receive care. I can tell you firsthand, a sick child does not travel well. I'd like to share a personal story about my daughter Lauren, my oldest child. When Lauren was 12, she woke up out of nowhere, like a switch went off. She was diagnosed with epilepsy. Like most parents, we started with her pediatrician. Her pediatrician was unsure how to treat this form of epilepsy. We slowly transitioned to one of the region's best healthcare systems. Despite a lot of trial and error, Lauren's seizures remained uncontrolled. We ultimately made the difficult decision to go over the bridge, seeking help anywhere we could find it, ultimately out of state, to a pediatric specialty provider. Despite their best efforts, they resorted to a dinosaur of a drug called Depakote, which caused extreme exhaustion and constant hunger. A bad combination for any teenager. That drug changed my child. It was only through the good fortune and God's intervention that one night, by happenstance, I ran into a friend who was sitting with a remarkable pediatric neurologist called Dr. Baderman. My friend introduced me to Dr. Baderman, and she could have asked me any question under the sun, but she asked me a very direct question. What drug is your daughter on? When I told her Depakote, she stared me in the eyes, grabbed me by the arm, and said, I can get her off that drug. I left that night with tears in my eyes. I called my wife from the car. I told her that I found a doctor that said she could get Lauren off of Depakote. The next day, I drove my daughter to the pediatric specialty, again, out of state, where over a period of time, she was removed from that dinosaur and remains to this day seizure-free. Soon after she was removed from the drug, Lauren said to me, Dad, I never realized how that drug changed me. Lauren just graduated from law school, passed the bar in July, and a few short months ago stood right there and took the oath of office to practice law in the state of New Jersey in this very building. I serve because every child should have access to that outcome. Every child should have that future. Every child should be able to tell that story regardless of the insurance card in their wallet. Finally, in the spirit of governing through life experiences as my children are now graduating college and beginning to pursue their careers. I'm seeing firsthand the consequences of our state's inadequate supply of workforce housing. I don't know about you, but my dream is that my children be able to afford to live in New Jersey when they start their careers and return home. Now, when I say return home, I do mean New Jersey and not down the hallway from my wife and I. But we have a workforce shortage in our state, and we have the best public education system in the country. But the brain drain continues because young talent, both homegrown and out of state, simply cannot afford to live here. A big reason for this shortage is of workforce housing, which is caused in large part by overly restrictive local zoning regulations, which limit the types of housing that can be built and make it impossible to build a home at an entry-level price. Today, the starter home is nearly extinct, and young people have been forced to relinquish or significantly postpone their American dream of becoming a homeowner. Our children deserve better. If we want to tackle our workforce shortage, it starts with making housing affordable for our workers, our children, and our next generation. I extend my deepest gratitude to all of you for the trust you have placed in me. Your vote of confidence in electing me as your majority leader once again is not taken lightly. Together, let us embrace the challenges that lie ahead with curiosity, open-mindedness, and a sense of hope. We have a lot of work to do for the people who sent us here. Thank you to all of you. May God bless all of you, and may God continue to bless the great state of New Jersey. God bless you all.